Hello and welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Oak City Tech gives their clients an edge over the competition with web and logo design that make them stand out. They increase brand awareness and generate leads with SEO and social media presence, then convert those leads into clients with content creation and email marketing. Go to oakcitytech.com. Tell Drago we said hi. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning, and each week we bring you a small business success story from Triangle BNI. BNI is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. The Triangle here, if you're not familiar with Central North Carolina, is Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill area. We have 32 chapters, almost 600 members each week get together that we help each other grow our businesses. And our guest this week is Steve Arrington, Agency Manager with North Carolina Farm Bureau. Steve, glad to have you here today.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, we're going to tap into some history for you. I like firsts on the show. You're not the oldest, so don't worry about that. Not the first Farm Bureau person, but you're okay with that. Anyways, you've been an agency manager 16 and a half years?
I've been with Farm Bureau for 16 and a half years, been managing since 2012.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about insurance, things you need to think about. We're going to talk about health insurance. We're going to have to talk about NC State for a minute. We're going to have to talk about, and we're going to talk about growing up in a small town. We are going, Steve's chapter is RD37, the morning show, which you started.
I was a founding member and actually gave it the name The Morning Show. And so, yeah, we've been around pretty much officially, I think, April of 2004.
And that is why you're a first on the show. You are, to my knowledge, first person on the show that started their chapter, especially one that's been going on this long. Yeah. They meet Wednesdays at 8 a.m. at the Fox and the Hound over in North Hills. We'll get to some of those stories. Let's talk about end of year. Here we are, middle of December. Everybody's there. Got 401ks here and 2020 goals there. From an insurance standpoint, what do we need to do? Do we need extra insurance for stupid Christmas tricks? What do we need for the end of the year?
Well, I think, from our side of the world, we do mostly personal insurance. So there's not these hard deadlines, for end of year stuff. But I think it's always a great idea to communicate and review your coverages with your agent, whoever your coverage is with. The last thing you want to do is have a claim and then find out you weren't covered correctly. So, yeah, you really want to dig it out, know what you got, and have a conversation, ask questions before things happen.
There are many wonderful companies that provide insurance all around the world. There are many in North Carolina that do that. The thing I've learned in BNI is the personal approach. They're buying, at the end of the day, they're buying you.
That's what we hope.
Right. Yeah, but they are, because you get to know them. They know, like, and trust you. You could have pretty much whatever logo on your shirt. They're buying you. If somebody out there watching or listening has not heard from their insurance agent in, let's just say 6 months. I know some of the stories go 4 years, right? Let's say they've not heard from them in the last 6 or 9 months. What should they do?
Again, pick up the phone, say, I want to review my coverages, and if they're not willing, because the biggest complaint I probably hear from competitors when I get new clients or about competitors is that I signed up, I only deal with the staff now. I haven't talked to my agent in years. All I do is call them for changes. And so, again, things change. You're probably worth more now than you were 10 years ago. So what are your auto liability limits? If you have a car accident, are you exposing yourself to lose a lot? And, and that's a, quick review and open some coverages might cost you less than $100 a year to, double your coverages, which would, save you in a car accident situation. So pick up the phone, demand that, hey, I need time to go through my stuff. Because, ultimately that's a protection for you. And that's something we all promise our clients, that we're going to do those things. But yeah, make it happen.
As I've gotten to know, and you are proper P&C, the seat in BNI is called property and casualty insurance, although you do a number of things, which we'll get to. But from the P&C side, where are we mostly underinsured?
Like I said, liability on your cars, most definitely. Most people transfer from their parents' policy at some point, and because of price, start at a low level, let's just say 50-100, which means for 50, the first number 50 is how much we're going to pay for any one person if they're hurt in an accident. The 100 is the total cost, so if multiple people were hurt. today's world, 50,000 is nothing. You know, if you have to ride an ambulance, go have a couple of tests done, have an MRI, you know, have a minor surgery for you broke your leg in a car accident, you're through those coverages. And so now you're exposed. Now what? And that's where you open yourself up to a lawsuit of some sort, or, you know, just again, you're just opening yourself up to a lot of trouble, which upping your coverages a little bit would have saved you.
When someone calls you today, either first-time insurance or comparing prices, what are your recommend? And I know I'm not giving any specifics, but what are kind of your general recommendations on levels?
Yeah, I always, you know, obviously quote head to head. So let's get the numbers. So that way the customer knows here's where our prices are. But then the next step is, you know, my first question, I can kind of see, you know, if you've got a $500,000 house and 2 nice cars and a couple of kids on the way, you know, we're probably starting at the 250, 500 range and then talking about umbrellas, you know, which is more coverage on top of that. But yeah, that's kind of the norm. My kind of baseline is 100, 300. If you own a house, that's where we're starting. You know, no questions asked. I'm not going to let you go below that because you're exposing yourself. And I don't want you, you know, to get the call or the knock on the door and say, why didn't you have more coverage on these folks? And if they want to go less, that's fine, but they're going to sign off on it and, you know, agree to being lower versus my recommendation.
In a while back, I like saying that about the show now. It's been, people have been very nice to watch and listen for almost a year and a half now. And early on, we had one of your running buddies, Matt Stone, who is hysterical in a number of ways.
Yes, he
And
is.
that's where I first started getting the understanding of the umbrella policy, talking about, we really got into, had a good discussion about, just like you brought up, you go to the hospital and there's way more than 50,000, way more than 250,000, or worse. I think the actual conversation I had with him was, you caused the car accident, and that person's up to $400,000 now, and you have 100 or 200 in coverage. Now they're coming after your house.
Yep. And umbrella's cheap. I mean, for most people have a house and 2 cars, you know, an extra $1 million is under $200, you know, and so 2 million's under $300
for the year.
And so for most people who have the conversation, they're like, why wouldn't I do that? So that's where, again, having the conversations, that's not something you're going to call up and say, I need to get an umbrella. It's basically, you're going to have some kind of counsel or recommendation from either us as your insurance agent, or probably from a financial planner saying, we need to protect your net worth, and here's why you need an umbrella.
We don't even think of that normally. The average person, we don't even think about our net worth when we're thinking about it. Oh, it's just insuring the car. What could go wrong, Steve?
Yeah. But if you drive around, you know, the Triangle area and see how many people drive around with the, you know, the steering wheel in one hand and the phone in the other hand, you'll see why you need to do that.
Where are we going with that, insurance-wise, regulations, anything like that?
Well, this year's been one of our worst claims year ever for auto, and I don't have the exact, you know, statistics, but it's due to texting. I mean, it's distractions in cars, and yeah, I mean, it just is. And there was some statewide increases across all companies this year, and I mean, just drive home today and see how many accidents you see.
Yeah.
You know,
Webster's, I've been saying this for a while, Webster's comes up with new words every year, and they should come up with the red light honk.
Yeah, the delay.
Because, you know, you look in the car in front of you that's not moving, their head's down, you know what they're doing. It's like, and then you have to decide, how long do I count, how loud the honk? Do I show them all 5 fingers? What do I do? Do I remember, was it last year, Chapel Hill was talking about hands-free?
Well, I mean, it's against the law now. But again, I mean,
to drive holding your phone,
to text.
Oh, to text. Yeah. No, but just even talking on the phone, they want everybody hands free.
I mean, I think it's a good
thing. Is that gonna?
I would think you'd have. I mean, obviously, when things go bad, you know, local government, state governments are going to get involved to hopefully provide safety of some sort. But yeah, I think it's.
Isn't the law 2 hands on the steering wheel?
Yeah. Probably,
yeah.
I mean, that's how they're taught. My son just got his permit, so that's how they're taught.
10 and 2.
Yeah, but you know, like normally my phone is on a driving thing that I'm not notified. So I think more and more of those kind of things are coming, and but yeah, it's a problem. I mean, it really is a problem because, you know, with my son starting to drive, he probably gets tired of me saying that's one of those special people all the time when we watch people driving is because people aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just they're on their phone, they're doing something instead of, driving. And people don't realize, a standard SUV is 6 or 7,000 pounds. Going 60 miles an hour, it's a missile. It's going to do some damage if it hits you. And we get comfortable, and unfortunately, people just make a split second mistake that can really be in some cases deadly, with that mistake. And
What are some of the biggest changes you've seen basically for you from day one as far as coverage?
I don't know that there's been one thing from a coverage standpoint. I think there's always, as you grow with people, it's having those conversations about increasing coverage. But yeah, I don't think there's been one thing coverage wise that's changed dramatically through the years.
Are there new lines of coverage?
Uber,
Yeah.
Lyft, those kind of companies are something we had to address, and it's something we don't cover. So that was a thing that kind of jumped on the scene. And what do we do with that? Because obviously a lot of people just put a sign up and started doing it without checking. But it's basically a taxi service, which is something that's not covered.
Does that fall under business insurance?
It's different companies have done different things. I actually saw something this week that Uber has partnered with somebody, I didn't see who it was, nationally to provide more coverage while they're on the clock.
And
So-
Farm Bureau decided not to, or
Yeah.
your office
No,
decided
Farm
not
Bureau,
to?
as a state company, we don't cover anything related to taxi services. So it's just too much of a risk. I mean, just time on the road,
Yeah.
it just increases your opportunities for an accident. And so, that's not something we wanted to be involved with.
Interesting. I like that.
Mhm.
But it does change a lot of things. I would say most of the drivers they didn't change their insurance policy. Even if they thought
They
to
put
do
the
it.
sign up way before they went and asked the question of how does this affect my insurance? Definitely.
Do you use Uber and Lyft?
Occasionally.
Do you ask them anything when you get in the car?
Yeah, always it's interesting to see who you find.
No, I mean if they have insurance or
Well,
not.
it is because they, one of the first questions is, what do you do?
Yeah.
And we talk insurance a little bit. But one of my favorite Uber stories is we took the kids up to DC, and Uber's such an unbelievable way to get around DC.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't have to go park your car at one end and figure out how to get back to it. You just get an Uber to one end and walk and get an Uber back to your hotel or whatever. So, but my kids had a blast in Ubers and the different people we ran into in DC as Uber drivers. That was quite funny.
What do the kids think of it?
It was just, we're getting in somebody's car.
Yeah.
What are we doing? And but it was, again, all kinds of, DC is such a melting pot of people.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we got to see a lot of different people up there. So that was fun.
What you have 3 agents in your office.
Mhm.
What's that like, managing 3 other agents?
Yeah, let's go manage 3 other type A personalities, right? And we're set up differently than other companies because we as agents are not employees of the company. So we're 1099 captive agents. So technically we're all self-employed salespeople.
Mhm.
So it's a challenge sometimes to get people going the same direction and being motivated for the team. And because when you have, they're out for themselves, to do as much as they can. But then we also have, agency goals and team goals that we need to kind of get done as well.
I think most people don't realize that you guys are in 1099s. You are on your own Farm Bureau tells you to stay with us. You kind of have to hit this number.
Right.
But as far as what you want to do, you're on your own.
Correct.
That's a wonderful opportunity.
It is.
Like in small business, it's not for everybody.
Correct.
But if you grasp it, kind of good, isn't it?
It is very good. And, we're unique in how we bring on new people. In order to come to work as an agent with Farm Bureau, we give you a book of business. And by book of business, I mean a property and casualty, so home and auto primarily, book of clients to start. So you walk in day one and have a pretty nice chunk of, residual income. So you get a way to come in and cut your teeth, figure out how to do it and service it, and then also expand on it and go from there. So you don't go day one and your first paycheck's on what you sold that month. I mean, it's you get a way to come in and do it the right way. Not every client's perfect for us. So it gives you an opportunity to write the right client. Good credit, good claims history in the areas you want to service.
You've seen enough people come and go. You, as the agency manager, how long does it take you to tell if somebody's got the chops to make it or the drive to make it?
Sometimes it's quick. And then, within 3 or 4 months, some people take longer, and, and it's a phrase that we've referred to as a managing group this year as the comfortable word. Some people can get comfortable after 6, 7, 8 years. And, residual income's a great thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's keeping not only the new person motivated, but it's the career person that's making a good living, making 6 figures and, a nice lifestyle to keep him pushing.
I had a wonderful boss years ago tell me, Mike, it's a whole lot cheaper and easier to keep a client than go find another one.
That is a
And
true statement.
every time I see turnover, I go back to John Graham at Daytona International Speedway. He was telling us that one day, and because we had to sell tickets for the Daytona 500, Pepsi 400, all that. He goes, why don't we just take care of the ones we have? It's, every time I see turnover to business, I keep thinking of that.
Yeah,
we are here with Steve Arrington, agency manager for North Carolina Farm Bureau. Your office is in Wake Forest. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech, where they help you reach your goals with proven technologies for increasing traffic leads and sales. Go to oakcitytech.com. Tell Drago we said hi. We are used to seeing in the local communities the signage on the Little League fences, team names in youth basketball, insurance agents. And you guys, to be successful, you got to be part of the community, don't you?
Absolutely. And yeah, that we, you mentioned a couple of things we definitely do. Obviously we're in Wake Forest, and so we've been in Wake Forest now for about 12 years with an office up there. And so things this year, Wake Forest Little League got signs on. I think we had them on 4 different fields. Big thing we got accomplished this year through one of my agents is we sponsor Player of the Week at Wake Forest High School football, which they were 3-time defending state champs, got beat in the Eastern Regional Finals this year. But Coach Lucas is a power player in the community, and obviously a mentor and father figure to a lot of young men, and has a lot of influence in the community. And so we have got a really good relationship with him and the AD at Wake Forest, Mike Joyner. So we're going to go right on into baseball and sponsor Player of the Week there. And
what does that player get by being named Player of the Week?
They got a T-shirt, and then we're also going to present them with a football at their awards banquet.
Oh, nice.
This, when that gets planned. And so each week, normally at the Thursday practice, at least one of us, sometimes 2 of us go and actually got to address the team, present the Player of the Week, get some pictures made for social media and that kind of stuff. And
are you in the decision on Player of the Week?
Nope, coach's decision. They send us a name, get the T-shirt printed, and but it's the good thing is it's been a different player every week. So ultimately, they get 14, 15 kids.
I can see when one of those kids goes to play major D1 football and they look back, son, you received a T-shirt and a football back your sophomore year.
Yeah, remember that Farm Bureau football?
It just buzzkill. Right? It's another buzzkill, but we go on for hours on that. So.
That's a fact. So.
And again, talking back to the community, and you mentioned your son who's 15, and we'll get to the prices you're charging yourself for covering him.
Not yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, I know. I always like to ask people on the show, we talk a little bit of family part. For folks who've never been to a BNI meeting, each week there's a 10-minute speaker, and they are introduced by the bio sheet, and I've memorized that, so I'm not going to go down all of it. But I always like to ask people how you met your spouse, and do you both tell the story the same way?
I think so.
Kind of what the guys say for the most part.
I was big into intramurals. Sports are a huge part of my life and our life as a family, and I was played tons of intramural sports and was also an intramural supervisor at NC State while my time was there. And my wife is 2 years younger, And she remembered me probably before I remembered her through playing softball. We had some really, really good co-rec softball teams. We won the intramural title 3 straight years, and one of those years we beat her team. And then, but when we really met was the intramural director at state at the time was Randy Bechtold, who's still a great friend. And every summer he put events together to kind of bring everybody back to play something. And one of those was we got together to play softball over at Pullen Park at NC State. So if you're familiar with there, you know kind of where that field is. And we just happened to be put on the same team. And I was playing shortstop. She was playing second base.
Here we go.
Well, I was trained all my life that if there's a ball in play and the shortstop can get it, it's his to get, right?
Yes.
So there's a pop fly in the infield that's to the second side of the base. I'm calling it off, and she's calling it, and she won out. But, you know, the joke was, you didn't trust me? No, it had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, it was just, you know, instinctually, I was taught to go get it. But anyhow, so that was kind of our first meeting. And then there's through other events like that, we got to know each other. And here we are. You know, our 20-year anniversary is in about 3 weeks.
Oh, congratulations.
So,
Would she say that she was the better player and you were just horning in on her limelight?
she would probably say she's the more humble player. No, she was good. She's a good athlete. And we're blessed our son has gotten a lot of both of us from an athletic standpoint. So
You try, from a husband standpoint, you try to explain why you go across second base to get the ball, because you've done that to males for
absolutely.
years.
No doubt.
And it just takes on a different tone to that.
It does.
But,
It does.
you know, those are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Where was the first date?
Actually, to a driving range, hitting golf balls.
I think that's a first, maybe.
And she claims that a huge part of why I got the second date was how patient I was with her, kind of teaching her how to swing a golf club. And so years later, she'd never picked up the game, had never played at all. And probably within 6 or 7 years, she was playing competitive golf.
Dang.
So she's a good athlete, you know, good hand-eye coordination. She was a tennis player in high school and then played softball and those kind of things. And so
Where's the driving range?
it was the old driving range up in North Raleigh off Falls of the News, which is now the Lifetime Fitness place off Falls.
Geez, yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And, that was,
Hmm?
so that's probably, 97? Spring of 97.
Okay.
So,
All right. Now, were you pleased that she waved you off to? You're pleased that she caught the ball, first of all, because you're there to win.
right.
Doesn't matter
always.
who's played. You're there to win. So
Always.
I've learned that much about you.
Yeah. Well, that crowd we played with was ultra competitive people.
Okay.
You know, and so yeah, we were all trying to beat each other.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a fact.
Did you guys play adult league after you graduated college?
Occasionally, we did some stuff with church. And yeah, nothing. She played in a ladies' league, and I was still doing some men's. There was no co-rec combined stuff really until we joined the church and started playing with the church a little bit. But so
Could you play today?
not very long.
Okay. Would you be a good pinch hitter?
Probably, I could do that. I could still probably play a little second base. But,
We won't talk about pinch running. Let's talk about pinch
no,
hitting.
yeah, the knee in the back and all those kind of things limit too much of
So
it.
you could be a defensive replacement in the bottom of the eighth?
I could do
Okay.
that. I could do that.
All right. When's the last time you swung a bat?
Oh, in a game or just
Yeah.
swinging a bat?
Well, let's go both, yeah.
Well, I've coached my kid since he was 5, so there's been lots of fungo
Yeah. All right.
from that standpoint. And there's always the occasional, hey, throw me a couple, you know, at practice or something like that. In a game situation, golly, probably 10 years.
Yeah.
So
I share your love of intramural sports.
Mhm.
I played at Tennessee a ton and loved it. I was that level of good,
Mhm.
but not elite enough to. I tried to walk onto the tennis team, and there were 2 Olympians and a Davis Cup
Wow.
on the team. I found
Yeah.
they would soon become once they
Right,
left Tennessee.
sure.
So I thought,
Yeah.
that's not happening. But I love the intramural life.
Oh, it was great.
It was a
And
blast. You could tell you learn a lot about people
to this day, those are
in
some of my
sports.
best friends from school.
Yeah.
Were intramural folks.
Were you in a fraternity?
I was in an agricultural fraternity called Alpha Gamma Rho,
Yep.
AGR.
Yep. We had that.
And yeah, Tennessee did definitely. And yeah, it was me and a bunch of my guys, joined together, and again, some great friends from that, and had a lot of fun playing intramurals with the fraternity. And
I lived in the same dorm for 4 years, and we would play once you made the all campus playoffs, then you're playing the independent teams and the fraternities and all that. And Kappa Alpha would field 9 softball teams every year.
How big was the fraternity?
Oh, it was 130 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was massive.
Wow.
And you learned who was good, and then then you become an independent team, and you're like, hey, you're on the 3rd team for your fraternity. Why don't you go play with us? But there were some good, I'm sure when you were playing as well, there were some legit D2 athletes. Had they chosen to play D2 in that sport, or in any sport, basketball, baseball, they could have played.
Yeah, one of my biggest probably defeats in college was we lost a fraternity championship one year. If we played them 10 times, I think we beat them 9, but they just beat us when it counted. And then with the co-rec stuff, being an intramural supervisor, I basically got to go recruit the best girls.
Oh yeah,
I knew who they were.
Yeah,
and I actually coached. There used to be this event, I don't know if they still do it or not, called Big Four Sports, and it was State, Carolina, Duke, and Wake, and they just rotated the event around to each campus every year. And one year I got to coach the girls softball team, and there were some girls that were so good. There's no doubt they could have played, in college somewhere. And it was so interesting when we played co-rec. There's 10 position players, and if in softball, there's 4 outfielders, 4 infielders, catcher, and a pitcher. Well, I'd never been able to do it since, but our girls played the corners and pitched.
Oh.
So we had girls at third, first, left, right, and at pitcher.
Dang.
Who has a co-rec team and has a guy catching, right?
Yeah, not many.
And so we were really strong up the middle, had 2 girls that could really run in the outfield and 2 girls that could knock the snot out of it playing the corners. And, yeah, we didn't really have much of a game a whole 3 years we did it, and because those girls could just play. And
I was a big brother for Delta Gamma sorority, and one of the things you got to do is coach the intramural teams, which love doing that. Still have some friends to this day hang out with. We made it to the semifinals of the campus flag football, and pound for pound in women's intramural flag football, our nose guard had her jaw broken in the semifinals. It was impressive. Yeah. It was impressive.
Flag football is one of the funnest things. And speaking of co-rec, I got to go. NC State always fielded teams, and as part of Sugar Bowl week, between Christmas and New Year's, when the bowl games were the old way of Sugar Bowl was on New Year's Day. There was a national flag football event in New Orleans as part of Sugar Bowl week, and so got to go down there, played twice, coached once, and then went with my wife Kelly for her co-rec team once. So I went down there 4 years that week, and best we ever did when co-rec is we made it to the finals and got beat.
Nice.
But yeah, it was an incredible week, and the 2 teams that make the finals get to go to the Sugar Bowl. So I got to go do that a couple of times, and but yeah, that is an incredible week playing teams from all around the country, and it's fun time.
My junior year in the dorm, we had a guy who transferred from West Alabama, where he was a wide receiver on the team, didn't play a lot, but decided, hey, I'm not going to the NFL.
Right.
I'm going to go to Tennessee and finish my degree. So we put him out. We put him wide receiver, and he lined up on the left side for the first play. And it's been a long time since I've seen fast live, but he just ran by everybody. It's like, then we started looking at each other like, okay, who can throw the ball the furthest to get it to? Yeah. But you see guys like that, though.
There was a couple of high school quarterbacks, obviously, that ended up quarterbacking some of our teams that were really good. But the fun thing was watching, like, former NC State women's athletes that, like, stayed around for grad school. We had a couple of basketball players. One of the best one was Danielle Parker, who was a really, really good. She may have even been high school player of the year in North Carolina coming out. Played her 4 years at State, had a great career. But her on the football field, holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, throw a slant to her and she is gone. And so it was fun to watch those girls team when you have athletes that are just different.
Yeah, for people who didn't play intramural much at a decent sized school, there's some athletes there. And it was a lot of fun. And I played disc golf one year just to play a bunch of sports because, it's Tennessee. I didn't have to study a lot. SEC school, but I loved it anyways. You are a native of Waynesville.
That's it.
Tuscola
High School.
Tell me about Tuscola High School. Give me good. What's your first high school job there?
Oh,
give me a memorable. Okay, give me a memorable high school job.
Well, Tuscola is known as up on the hill. High school set up on top of a hill. So that's kind of how we always referred to it as going up on the hill. But yeah, probably just mowing yards. Didn't do much else. Baseball. Played a lot of baseball growing up, so it's hard to do much that had a structure to it because of either during the season or summer baseball. It was kind of hard to have anything that couldn't control my time a little bit. So, Tuscola, when I was there, 4A school, almost 1,100 kids. I don't think it's anywhere near that big anymore. I think they're borderline 2A now. They've actually been fighting the North Carolina High School Association about getting reclassified because of their size. But Tuscola on the national scene is known. Our rival high school in the county is only 2 high schools in the county. Is Pisgah High School, both Indian names. But if you look up Tuscola Pisgah, it's one of the top 10 high school football rivalries in the country.
Really?
Yeah, it's been on some different documentaries and shows and talking about it. And but the whole town shuts down. I think there's 60,000 people in the county, kind of split down the middle. And that game every year, I mean, both sides of the county pretty much shut down. And everybody's there. They have a big 50-50 raffle. I think this year it was $20,000, for the raffle. And I think Pisgah has had their number for a while. I think they've won 7 or 8 in a row, but it's cyclical. It goes back and forth.
Is there usually some at stake at that game for playoffs?
It's kind of funny. I think they actually played really early this year, so this year not so much. But yeah, there definitely have been years where it's late. Decides.
Did you play in that game?
I never played football in high school. Played JV basketball in 10th grade, but then after that, it was all about baseball.
You made it further than I did.
I played 9th grade football, and that was enough for me.
Looking back, now that you're an established, successful insurance agent, looking back in your high school days, just from an insurance standpoint, right? It's like, oh, the things we did.
Thank God we didn't have cameras.
I know.
Thank God. Because, the Friday night bonfires and the camping trips at somebody's farm it's, glad we didn't have cameras way back then. But it's kind of interesting relaying insurance back to my upbringing. One of my baseball coaches when I was 15 was a State Farm agent in town, Lee Starnes. And he did more for me than my high school coach probably did for recruiting. I'd go by his office after school and he'd sit down and call, coaches for me. And
really?
Oh yeah, he was, but he was the first coach I ever had that didn't have a kid on the team, and so there was no daddy ball. So when I was 15 and our all-star team, our local all-star team, just like any other small town, different families had different prestige or pull in the town and that kind of stuff. And we got through practice for all-stars, and our first game, I see the lineup, I'm hitting 5th and playing shortstop. And I'm like, really? And it was kind of the first time that, you got to play on ability, not name, and that kind of thing. And so ever since then, Lee and I were really close. I mean, he was one of the first people I called when I was looking at getting into insurance. And speaking of my 20-year anniversary is coming up, sent him an invitation. He shows up at my wedding.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool guy and very influential in the community. Again, back home, no kids personally, so he was always coaching. He actually took a group of kids to Russia to teach Russian kids how to play.
Dang.
Yeah, so was always sponsored kids to the Space Academy. down in Huntsville, Alabama. And so, yeah, he was kind of learned a lot from him and just how to
Very
get
cool.
involved in that kind of stuff.
Those are the Hall of Fame induction type speeches
Yeah.
that get told.
Yeah,
They go back to the 7th grade
no doubt.
teacher, the 9th grade coach, stuff like that. I love hearing those
Mhm.
stories. But going back to when we were younger, I'm a little ahead of you. But when we were growing up, we would lay in the back window of the car.
Oh, yeah.
There were no seatbelts
Oh,
in the
no.
back seat. And I say this kind of jokingly that we survived, but we survived. You know, you just
Oh, no
had to
doubt.
get, our goal was who could get the furthest away from mom, because with
Mhm.
3 kids in the back seat and we're not being as quiet as we should be, who she can reach the first.
I mean, imagine today putting a bunch of kids in the back of a pickup truck.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they'd throw you in jail,
Yeah.
right?
And in fairness to people today, it does make sense not to do that.
It does, but
Not on a farm, but on
I can
the belt
remember-
line, it does. Yeah.
yeah, and again, small towns,
But
you're not going 100 miles an
No.
hour, all those kind of things. But I can't tell you how many church events
Oh, yeah.
jump in the back of a pickup to go
Yep.
trick or treating or to do whatever, and vivid sitting up on the rail, you know, kind of thing. But yeah, it's crazy. My kids are, heck, we can't hardly let them go outside and play without
I know.
supervision, and
Yeah.
you know the crazy things we were doing.
My wife tells a story when she was growing up and she had a older brother and a younger sister. And when they were growing up, they would travel a bunch. They'd be in a car. Sometimes they had a station wagon. Sometimes they had a car. And they got to the point to figure out how their mother could not reach them. And so one day they load up the car for a trip and mom shows up with a fly swatter.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that changed the dynamic. So anybody out there, if you really wanted to get your kids'
Yeah.
attention, and this is one trip she brought a metal one because she wasn't happy with the way they did on the last trip. So
Well, I know my wife talked about when they were traveling as kids, somebody got the back seat and then they pile quilts and pillows in the floor
Yeah.
to make another bed.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they went with
Thought
seatbelts.
nothing of it, yeah.
No,
Somebody'd sit in the middle. Sometimes you had to put
Oh.
somebody in the middle of the. We didn't have bucket seats back then. We had the
Mhm.
bench seats, yeah.
Mhm.
And somebody sit in the middle, and there's no seatbelt in the middle. And
I always laugh a little bit thinking back home of, you know, the 4-door pickup truck wasn't a thing yet in the late 80s.
Mm.
You know, so it was all 2-door pickups.
yeah,
You know, so, you know, kind of your first date, the girl in the middle, and those
Mhm.
kind of things. It's stuff you don't see that anymore.
yeah.
'Cause
Oh yeah.
There's consoles and, yeah.
And this was also back in the day, and you can't do it today, which is sad, but I get it. I don't want to get on my old guy soapbox too much, but you didn't have to lock your house back then.
Oh,
So
no.
insurance was, you know, we don't really need it that
Mhm.
much because nobody's going to come in because my neighbors, we all know each other.
Well, you know, I tell this story a lot, you know, speaking in the world we live in now with the gun talk and all those kind of things. But my high school or my college apartment was the first place I ever lived that didn't have a shotgun behind the front door.
Yeah.
And we never locked the door anytime growing up. Because just like you said,
Mm.
if somebody was coming in,
Yeah.
you
If
knew
they're-
it wasn't a neighbor,
Yeah.
you know.
And they weren't
so-
leaving probably,
No.
or at least walking
and there
out,
was
yeah.
no questions kind of thing. And
My guess is at your high school, how many kids with trucks showed up with guns in the gun rack?
if you had a truck, it had a gun.
Yeah, yeah.
I tell the story, and this is late 80s. I graduated from high school in 1989. You know, a thing like Columbine could never have happened because there would have been more guns pointing
Yeah.
back than,
Yeah.
you know, just wouldn't even have been a question. But I know my senior year in high school, I carried a gun, a rifle in a case in to show a teacher. Imagine today I'd be put in jail, right? Just for having it on campus, probably. But yeah, I mean, Coach Brees,
Yeah.
he was my drafting teacher, and we were talking about guns. And, you know, everybody had a gun because everybody went hunting before and after
Yeah.
school all the
Yeah.
time. And I mentioned the gun that we'd just gotten. He goes, man, go get it. I want to see it.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Nobody even blinked.
Yeah.
So-
And we are not getting on a soapbox. We're
No,
just
no,
sharing
it's just
stories.
the worlds have changed.
It is. It's just funny to watch.
Mhm.
And now that I've got a grandson, I'm curious to see. He's 16. He'll be almost 17 months next week. I'm curious to see what the first 10 years of his life is going to be like with rules, regs, perceptions,
Mhm.
technology. I mean, he'll come see me in a year and a half, and he'll be programming my phone because I
Oh,
probably
I'm
did
sure.
something stupid. But
No doubt.
just to watch what used to be accepted and was no big deal and now is for whatever reason, rightly or wrongly. But it's funny thinking about, and you as an insurance guy, that's why I had to bring those up.
Yep.
It's like, oh yeah, I'll insure a gun wreck in the back of
Yeah.
your truck.
It was everybody had a gun rack.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there was no
Yep.
questions.
2004, I've got you as the North Carolina Farm Bureau top 10 rookie agent.
Oh, you're gonna age me now. Hard to believe it's been 15 years. but
Do
yeah.
you remember the first policy you ever wrote?
I remember the first life policy I ever wrote. I'll never forget it. It was a lady that was in my book of business. She worked at a Dollar General down in the Garner area somewhere. Went in the back room, wrote it up, and I was like, there is no way this policy is going to get issued. I had to take an extra piece of paper to write down medicines and stuff that she had health wise.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Got issued, and to this day, it's still in force.
Nice.
So, but nah, I really don't remember PNC wise, but yeah, I definitely remember that first life policy.
And I think people we want somebody with experience,
Mhm.
but we also want somebody we can trust that
Sure.
if something does go wrong, they'll call you and go, my bad, I got it covered, or you really don't need all of this
Mhm.
instead of taking their money. So multiple years you've been a top 75 agent.
Mhm.
What does that mean? And do you have trophies? Do you point that out to your kids when they're out of line? Say, hey, top 75 here.
Oh, basically, the company recognizes the top 10 rookies and the top 75 agents every year at our sales conference that we do, and usually it's in March every year. We've got almost 850 agents,
Yeah.
so it's better than the top, but it's about top 8-9% of the company. So yeah, it's not an easy thing to get.
And they do not hesitate to put more agents in the market, do they?
Nope. It's about population.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about North Carolina,
Oh, yeah.
we're probably not unlike every other state where population is kind of centralizing in bigger cities or around bigger cities. And from that standpoint, blessed to be in Wake County, because they keep telling us that 60 people a day are moving, to Wake County. And
That's just a staggering number.
it is. But
Even with all the land still left in this county to build on, that's a staggering number.
It
to me.
is. And, and again, when I started, I think we had 4 agencies. Now we got 6. I think we had 25, 26 agents in the county. Now we got almost 40. So
What do you hear? What states do you hear people moving to North Carolina? Either Mazer paying a lot lower or a lot more.
I've said a lot of people from the Northeast, are leaving, coming south, for weather, for taxes, for
Another
whatever.
soapbox we could
Yeah.
get.
So, but then I saw a stat from somebody a couple of years ago that somebody from all other 99 counties moved to Wake County. So it's not just, from other states, it's from within the state too.
I get some of that with the technology and the medical
Well, the
growth.
schools, it's
Yeah.
probably not unlike what I did. I came to state and never left.
Yeah.
And I think with the schools here and where population is and where jobs are, I mean, it's a good place to be.
If you didn't go to state, where would you have gone to school?
Tennessee, actually.
Oh, Steve, you had so much potential.
I
You could have been a
know.
top 50 agent every year.
Because if
You wouldn't have been in insurance. It would be one of those career
It
things.
would.
If you'd have gone there, you'd have been doing something else.
It was interesting because if you'd have asked me going into my senior year, I was going to Tennessee because Tennessee was 90 miles from my home.
Yeah.
Just, basically across the gorge. and
Yeah.
You're in Knoxville. State was just the first to respond saying you're in.
Yep.
And, back then I heard in September of my senior year. So I was done, and I got early acceptance to state and, a crowd of people from my high school were going to state, and it was just an easy decision at the time.
Who was your first roommate?
Big Will Starling, big farm boy.
Friend of yours from high school?
Nope, didn't know him at all. It was just an odd number of folks coming from high school, and so I was just like, I'll take a chance. And Tucker Dorham at NC State, and Big Will, and I had a bunch of people in my hallway that I knew.
Yeah.
And he pretty much went home every weekend to help out on the farm, actually.
Okay.
So it was a perfect roommate situation. It was solo on the weekends and hardly ever saw him during the week.
What was the first football game you went to?
Ooh, golly. I don't know that I remember. It's 30 years ago now. So,
I My connection with state. I grew up here in Raleigh, moved
Mhm.
away, but was
Mhm.
never going to go to state because I went to Tennessee for broadcasting.
Mhm.
And it was $1,900 out of state insurance my freshman year in 1979, which was the
What
only reason I was allowed to
oh,
go. Yeah,
wouldn't you love
exactly.
that
I know.
today, right?
My connection to state is in 74, 75, and 76. I sold drinks at football and basketball games.
Nice.
David Thompson is still, along with Phil Ford, my two favorite basketball players to have ever watched live.
Yep.
And I tell one of the trivia stories, I forget what year it was. Oh, that's when I learned to like ECU football fans, but that had to do with alcohol they drank and the mixers they needed. Hey, a 14-year-old kid made a ton of money on ECU games because
Oh,
they
no
wanted
doubt.
a bunch of mixed drinks.
No
So
doubt.
State played. This was when Lou Holtz was coaching. Ted Brown was a running back.
Wow.
The Buckies, Dave
Yep.
and Don Bucky. I believe it was that year. It may have been the year after, but I believe it was that year. They were playing Michigan State. Michigan State had this all-star wide receiver, some guy named Kirk Gibson.
Ah,
And I tell that trivia question,
Yeah.
like, I watched a Hall of Fame. I don't
Yeah.
know if I don't think he's not a Hall of Famer, but a World Series hero.
World Series.
And he
yeah.
was a stud wide receiver
That's-
in
yeah.
college, big time. So, but I enjoyed that a
Mhm.
lot. I had a good time at Carter Finley. I enjoyed the ECU and the Carolina games because it's when all the kids wanted to, party.
One more thing about Tennessee. My college roommate, after we moved out of the dorms, was Roger Norton, and both of his parents were Tennessee alums. So we went back 3 different times to see Tennessee football games.
Oh, yeah.
So I got exposed. My first ever Tennessee game was a Tennessee-Florida game.
Ooh, that's back when we were
Um,
beating them, probably.
Well, it was crazy. It
Yeah.
was 7-3 halftime. They returned the opening kick, get an interception, and they scored 2 touchdowns within the first 3 minutes,
Ugh.
second half. No,
Yeah,
Tennessee
maybe.
did.
Oh, good. Okay.
And they ended up winning
Yeah.
45-3 or something like it was crazy, but
Nice.
it was so.
I love going to Neyland Stadium, 100,000 of my fellow
Mhm.
rednecks there. I
Yeah.
love when we're all together.
Yeah, the boats on the water.
Oh,
that's
yeah, the
awesome.
Vol Navy.
Yeah.
One of the neat things I tell people, one of the joys I have doing this show is to spotlight BNI because I'm a big fan. My brother and I he and I started 2 businesses in BNI. The quality of folks that are in these chapters, because
Okay.
we can talk about money and success and all this stuff, but I enjoyed the community part of it. You are big, and that's where we met officially. I think we'd met a couple years ago. I remember passing at one of these visitor day
Sure.
things.
Mhm.
You're a member of the Wakefield Rotary.
Mhm.
You've been since 2008.
Yep. Founding member there as
Yep.
well. Of our
And I
chapter.
spoke to your group about a month ago. Good group of folks. Love the breakfast with Santa.
Mhm.
How did that go this
It
year?
was great. It was, it was a nice, because I think we found out a couple of days before they had canceled the parade. So, yeah, another thing,
God,
right?
That's another podcast we could do.
But yeah, so it was, a little morale was down, but it was nice to, something we've been doing up there for 6 or 7 years. And, so it's always good to see that community. And we've been helping the Boys and Girls Club for a long time now. And so it was good to be in the community and kind of get a pulse for everything. And
The day I visited, I've been to Rotary groups before. It's been a while.
Mhm.
And you tend to, like anything out of sight, out of mind, you tend to forget the reason why they're there.
Mhm.
And I forget who the president of your group was that was running the meeting.
Jerry Kephart.
Jerry, okay.
Mhm.
He was talking about somewhere towards, I think, the end of the meeting, you guys, there were a couple of opportunities to come up to staff something
Mhm.
or raise money for something. Just nothing but a bunch of hands going up in the air. There was no hesitation, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I've always said, if you really want to meet movers and shakers in your community, find a Rotary Club.
Yeah.
Because it's, established business owners or retired business owners or, up and comers,
Mhm.
people. And it's just the people that, I think are trying to make a difference. And honestly, Matt Archer, who's in our BNI group, he and I joined at the same time. And we did it because we were doing all these community events and charity events. We were just looking for a way not to have to plan them all the time. So we went and joined to kind of involve other people to
Yeah.
always be involved, but not have to do it every time ourselves. And so, yeah, we've been there. We had our 10-year anniversary this year.
Nice. Some of the best storytellers are these retired business guys. Oh my
doubt.
gosh.
Been there, done that.
Yep.
So,
Well, they're off to something else. They're
Right.
like, oh, I'm not going to be at next
Mhm.
week's meeting. We're off to fill in the blank.
Yep.
And they've got good stories. I hung around for a little while afterwards and talked with some of the guys there, and it was really good. You guys also do a duck splash.
Started that last year, the Super Duper Duck Splash. We basically race rubber ducks down a big slip and slide at the soccer park up in Raleigh, and it was a huge hit. Raised $30,000+ last year, I think.
Wow.
And
Is this just your Rotary in this?
it is.
Wow.
And supported 4 local charities with the event, and hopefully now it'll just be bigger and bigger from year to year.
Walk me through the logistics here. At the top of the slide, you have however many ducks will fit all the way across, right?
Basically a big wagon load of ducks.
All right. And my name, your name, Amdon's name is on it.
Got a number.
Oh, okay.
On the bottom of
Gotcha.
the duck.
All right.
And we release them, and there's basically a trough at the bottom that kind of gets them down individually. And
Okay.
first 10 or whatever get prizes.
How many ducks were entered?
Thousands.
Did they all go at once?
Oh, yeah.
There's room for that many?
Oh, yeah.
I got to check that out next year.
I'll get you a video. It was.
Oh, too funny.
Yeah.
What does the winner get?
What was it? $1,500. Is that what it was? I think.
Well, see, now I like dumb luck. You just had to put your number on the right duck that was weighted different.
And you
here we go.
And you can fill it up with lead.
You never physically get the duck.
Oh,
So it's all you do is you sign up, you're randomly assigned a number, and engineer over here, right? He's trying to figure out fix the system.
These
But,
techie guys, they're like, all right, so far, yeah.
yeah, but it was crazy. I mean, we brought in, a DJ to come and kind of do it. We had food trucks. We had vendor tents,
Man.
leading up to it, and had, soccer events.
Yeah.
Next year we're doing it the same weekend as a soccer tournament.
Oh,
So there will be a break between the action for us to do the race and just create a bigger buzz. So
if you took the top 10 finishers
Mhm.
and had a final race, just 10 ducks up there, I wonder how much different that would be with just 10.
it was we did something similar to that because all the sponsors
Yeah.
got a bigger duck that we decorated, and we had a sponsors race.
Okay.
So that was fun.
I can live with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a 20 to 30 duck race with bigger ducks.
Okay.
So
Oh, that's funny.
yeah.
But those are some of the great causes, though, that Rotary in general does. But locally, I know there's 30 plus Rotaries, I think,
Oh, there's
in,
more than that.
I think there's about 50.
There's probably 6 or 8 in Raleigh, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
just different Raleigh clubs.
But that's what they do, and that's the beauty of people you find in BNI, and that's one of the reasons why I enjoy having folks on the show. So here's a couple things I like. Quit looking at my notes, man. That's why I started to handwrite notes, because everybody wants to look at my notes.
Yeah. Where are you going next? Right?
And I don't care where you're going. I got something from the past. Yeah. Each week, when I'm researching my guests, I basically stalk you everywhere, and I'll show up
Nice.
on your LinkedIn, on your Facebook. I'll Google that. There's a couple people with your name been arrested in Pennsylvania.
Nice.
There's a big music producer with your name, and it's like, okay, that's not him. I've
There's
met him
a-
once, but he didn't. Yeah.
There's a black reggae singer that's Steve
Yep.
Arrington.
Yep.
So
He came up too.
I got plenty of, cassette tapes growing up of, gag gifts.
Oh,
from that.
really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
So I found out that in March 2016, you were one of the Triangle Business Journal's People on the Move.
really,
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
You don't remember that?
No.
Google. It's on
Nice.
it's like page 5, but it's on there.
It's in there.
It's in there.
Well, that's
So
good.
2016, you were what, 31, 32, something like that?
Yeah, plus
on,
some.
on your web.
Plus some. So,
The other thing, I hope this was you, I found out, does the name Hunter Freeman ring a bell?
oh yeah,
North Carolina 4-ball.
yeah.
You guys shot 1 under but missed the cut. At Crowsdale,
Oh yeah.
did I?
I
Yeah.
remember that one.
Oh, yeah, that came up too. I
we
love
made
this.
we made the cut. You look deeper. We made the cut a couple other times.
Well, I know I kept looking for more, but that was the only year
But
they
you-
had results.
the reason I remember that tournament, the 2 people we played with were the 2 of the people I couldn't wait to get away from fast.
Yeah.
They were just, one guy's language was the worst I'd ever been around.
Ooh.
Couldn't wait to get away from him.
Ooh. You're an athlete. You've seen it. You've heard a lot.
This
yeah.
guy was, I mean, he's an adult. I mean, how in the world do you speak like
Was
that?
he any good?
He thought he was.
right.
I mean, you have to be somewhat good because I think you have to have a sub 5 handicap to
Yeah.
even be in the tournament. But Yeah, it was
They
brutal.
talk bad
Yeah.
because you're losing.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Ah.
that's again. You learn a lot about people in sports, how
Instantly.
they win and how they
Right.
lose. You learn a lot. And in golf, it's actually a great way.
Perfect.
Man, I
way.
was having this conversation with somebody about a month ago. We were
Mhm.
talking about this. A great way to interview somebody.
Mhm.
You learn how they treat other people. So if you're golfers, you'll get this. If you're not golfers, bear with us for a minute. Do they take the stick out of the cup first? Do they rake the bunker? Do they kick their ball back into the fairway? How do they? Oh, you learn a ton. Just take somebody out to play golf for 9 holes.
Yep.
Oh, you'll learn a ton about them.
Well, it's funny you said that because when I basically got out of school, I actually got in the golf business. And,
Yep. I was going to lead into that. Yep.
And the very first day I worked at Carolina Custom, I met Raymond Davis, who was the Farm Bureau county manager at the time. Didn't even realize, literally from that point forward, he started recruiting me.
Mhm.
And it was 7 years later before it happened. But I played with multiple times with Farm Bureau people, and I have no doubt that that's what he was doing.
The question, and this was great because I wanted to set all this up with a golf talk. One of the best interview/recruiting questions I've ever heard was what he asked you. I'm gonna let you share that story. This is classic.
Yeah. So I managed a retail location for Carolina Custom down on Capitol Boulevard. And if you know Raymond, you love Raymond. He's just one of the most positive people. My staff would love for him when he came in because he would just make you feel better after he left. You just felt better. He gave you some energy. But one day we're back on the putting green just messing around. And his question was, hey, do you like coming to the same place every day? At the time, I was like, yeah.
But what a great question.
It was.
Because it's not
It's
a
a
yes.
great probing question.
It is a
Get some
yes, no, but
convers-
it's not.
Right. And I said, man, I am single. I'm making 50 grand playing golf twice a week. I was pretty good place.
Yeah.
But about a couple years later, 9/11 happened. I met my wife. Weekends and holidays were a pain, not a good thing anymore.
They're now spoken for.
And I went back to Raymond and I'm like, yeah, not so much. He goes, okay. And then going back to like we talked earlier, 2 people left.
Yeah.
He brought 3 of us in,
Yep.
and kind of the rest is history. But yeah, that was an unbelievable question that to this day makes me think.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
When you told me that story, that's just a great, because you can go so many ways with that.
Mhm. Well, he was a great recruiter. In his time as manager, 65% of the people he hired either were still with Farm Bureau or still in the business.
And his hit rate was pretty good, wasn't it?
Well, when the industry rate's less than 20,
Wow.
he was special because he never went to hire somebody when he needed them.
Yeah.
He was doing it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And then he would go finish the conversation.
Yeah.
And there was never I got a spot, I need you now.
Mm.
It was just always this probing and getting to know people. And so by the time he offered you the spot, he knew who you were.
Yeah.
He had a really good feel for, are you going to be successful and are you going to do the right things and, make his job easier.
And I don't know what the female version, but for us guys, it's like, it's the head nod with the, hey, says a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But those that's a great small business lesson. If somebody asks you, you're hiring, well, I'm always hiring.
Right.
And let's go from there.
Right. Because our process is not hey, Mike, I got a job. You want it? It's, I see an opening coming,
Mhm.
and now we need to decide because we don't hire people. We partner with them.
Yeah.
We're trying to give you a spot to do your job, not, hey, this is a job you work 9 to 5 and you go home, because that's not what it is. We have to find people that want to be business owners that are willing to do whatever it takes to be successful.
Yeah.
For some weeks that's 20 hours, and for some weeks it's 80 hours.
You guys are competitors and teammates at the same time, aren't you?
To some extent, yeah, absolutely.
Do you understand how you divvy up the territory, the people, the market, anything like that?
Well, there's 1 million people in Wake County.
Yeah.
Farm Bureau's got 4 or 5% of the market share.
Okay.
Don't bump into people but too much.
Yeah.
I've been around for 16 plus years and probably 15, 20 times, and that length of time that I bumped into somebody else, of oh, that's my best friend, or
Yeah.
that's my wife's roommate, college roommate, or something like that. It's okay, fine, because I've always been impressed with Farm Bureau clients because they can get upset with us, but still want to stay with the company.
What's the number one reason they stay with you guys?
I think it's the personal touch. It's a huge company. We're a $1 billion company in North Carolina, but it's people, and it's our people that make us who we are, and I think as good as we are. And, you leave companies, I don't think you leave people in how you're treated. And even if one guy does something wrong or makes you mad or whatever, it's still the overall organizational of people that do the right thing, are here locally, and are going to take care of you.
And if most people went back and looked and found out who their vendors were, their favorite ones probably would be either somebody they know or somebody that's had direct contact with them, taking care of them, make sure they're covered. Well,
I've always said that I want people to know me as their agent. I love my company, but I don't want them to think my insurance is with Farm Bureau. I want them to think my insurance is with Steve.
Yeah.
And I think if you do that, then price is not as important. I'm not going to leave Steve.
Right.
For $10, $20, or whatever it may be.
The ultimate compliment I've found in your field is somebody to say, if I were to recommend you to somebody, and I said you need to call Steve about your insurance, and their first question back probably would be, well, who does he work for? I'm like, I don't remember, but just call him.
Right.
And that's all they need to know.
I agree.
I know with my insurance guy, it's the same thing. I'm like, I'm with him. And a lot of people's financial advisors, and again, looking at the female side, their hairdresser, they'll move with them.
Oh, no doubt.
Right? Your swing coach for golf, for a guy, you're a girl, you'll move with them.
Wherever they go. We're going.
If they change country clubs, like, I'm going there. Chiropractors, now that I go to one, I'm with you wherever you go. So.
Don't want to tell my story and take x-rays every time I go.
No, because you know me. You know what we've been through. So
exactly.
Anyways, if you want, and the other thing I've learned in the insurance world is you just want an opportunity to quote.
Absolutely, because I always tell folks, I'll be the first to say, stay right where you're at if the price is the reason you're looking. If I can't beat your price, I'll tell you, be the first to say, hey, you got a great price, you got a great product. But also, you're not going to lose by reviewing and having another set of eyes look at your stuff. Because like we said earlier, most people have never looked at it again after they bought it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's always a good idea to get another set of eyes on your stuff. And I'd say, hey, straight up, we're a little bit more expensive, but you need to go back and ask your agent about this.
Yeah.
Go back and you need to increase this, get an umbrella quote, plan for that 16-year-old driver, that's coming, that kind of stuff, so that it's not a surprise.
And it doesn't cost anybody anything to do that. It takes about how long? How long would you be talking to them just to?
It depends on how much stuff I have up front.
Okay.
Like if you send me your deck pages so that I can quote it ahead of time, it's a 20, 30-minute conversation.
Okay.
If I have to do some data entry, it might be a little bit longer to get you where you need to be. But, because there's, driving records we need to pull and that kind of stuff.
But again, the key is just get someone to look at it.
No
or
doubt.
They should, we as the policy holder should review ours on a more than, oh, my kid's going to be 15. I bought this when he was 4.
Right. Well, it's, and kind of like we've joked about technology, getting to people is harder and harder and harder because nobody has landlines now, so then it was email, but now people have 4 and 5 email accounts. So you don't know which one they're looking at, so now you got to get to the cell phone. Right. And a realtor friend of mine from Rotary, Mark Ifrady, turned me on to this group texting app last year. And it's something that has worked really, really well. Basically created some spreadsheets that allow me to put a group of phone numbers into a texting app. And basically, I know every Monday morning, what renewed over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I pull that report. My assistant helps. We put it into the app. I hit send. And basically it says, hey, you got something renewing this week.
Mm-hmm.
Open your mail.
Yeah.
Right. Look at your policy. Let's set a time to chat. And then, big thing for us is always kind of rounding out accounts. So I always include a life insurance calculator to say, hey, has your job changed? You lost something, good time to just check the numbers, and let's chat. So a lot of those things, I just do a phone interview.
Yeah.
You know, and some people are like, no, I want to meet. Okay.
But rule number one is for the policy owner, just look at your own policy and see when the last time it was updated. And do you know your insurance person?
And yeah, because you'd be amazed at how many people bought a car, didn't tell us, paid off a car, didn't tell us, changed mortgage companies, didn't tell us. And I think there's just for some people, they just think all that happens.
Probably sold a car and didn't tell you.
Absolutely.
So now they're paying extra.
One of the biggest frustrations are people of, wow, I sold that car last year.
Yeah.
Well, it just, we don't know.
Yeah.
Unless you tell us.
I know.
And, and it goes back to that. Well, I haven't opened my mail. Well, you've paid for it twice.
Yeah.
So,
but rule number one, go back, check your own policy. If you want to find somebody that has been in the community for years, please give Steve a call. Like you said, the only thing you want out of an insurance person looking at your current policy is if he can't beat it, he'll tell you instead of taking your money. So, Steve, we appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Good luck in 2020.
Same to you. Yeah.
And we'll see you next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.